Hi everyone, welcome to the Bourbon Obsessed New Bourbon Releases News Podcast, your commercial-free, and therefore money-free, bourbon podcast for Monday, September 1st. I am Ed from BourbonObsessed.com, also known on Instagram as Bourbon_Obsessed. I publish bi-weekly newsletters featuring the latest bourbon news and releases, and also do this podcast version for your listening pleasure. My usual co-host, my friend and bourbon aficionado, Dean Langdon, will again be joining me to discuss the latest new bourbon and other whiskey releases. Dean, how are you doing?
Doing very well, Ed. Welcome to all the listeners and the viewers. It's always good to be back and talk about all things bourbon, especially all the new releases that you've predicted for weeks now. Mm-hmm. It's a heady time of year for new releases, and so I suspect that folks want to hear about all these, but we're going to try and be brief, even though I just rambled on and on.
Yeah, we have to be. We are squarely in release season, and
yes.
there are over 20, and at just 3 minutes each, that would put us over an hour, and we try to stay under an hour, so we will do our best. So
extend your workouts on this one, folks. That's, you'll just get in a little bit more sweating.
So we won't talk about all the exciting things that Dean's done this week, but we were just at a meeting for the volunteers of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and hopefully we'll see a bunch of you guys all there. And for first-time Bourbon Festival attendees as well as seasoned attendees, I've written a Kentucky Bourbon Festival survival guide, which you can get to from the homepage of BourbonObsessed.com, and that will tell you all you need to know. And I've been to a lot of festivals. I've bought my share of bottles and done everything else. So it's not just a ChatGPT generated. It's got my own insights in how to survive the festival.
I've been going for several years, and I read through it, and I found it helpful. So, there's some basic things like make sure you eat, make sure you hydrate. But beyond that, there's just some really good information in there. And I encourage anybody who's going to look at it, give it a quick read through before you show up. It'll make your experience a lot more enjoyable, I think.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean. And while you're there, you can sign up for my newsletters too, so you get this valuable information delivered directly to your inbox.
And if you're coming to the festival, just look for the hats. Come up and say hi to us. We'd love to talk with our fans and our viewers and listeners. And so we'll both be around, hanging out at various distillery booths and volunteering and doing other fun stuff.
Absolutely. And yes, we will be pretty easy to spot because probably nobody else at the festival has bought the hats, so we'll be the only ones. Yeah. You never know.
You never know. So what's our first release?
Right.
Let's get on to
we need to get going.
Yes,
all right. So Old Forester's 2025 Birthday Bourbon marks the brand's 25th vintage dated release, aged 12 years and bottled at 92 proof. In a rare departure from tradition, this batch was produced using a sweet mash process rather than setback, the sour mash process. Mm-hmm. It was drawn from 210 barrels filled on April 5th, 2013, and selected by Chris Morris and Caleb Trigo. I'm actually not positive how he pronounced his last name.
I think you got it right.
Okay.
Yep.
This release was available through a national online sweepstakes on oldforester.com, which ran from August 18 to 21st, so sorry for mentioning that here.
You missed it.
Well, I'm sure those of us that entered didn't get anything either. But
right.
With winners required to purchase in Louisville between September 4 and December 20. Each bottle carries a suggested retail price of $199.99, with limited availability nationwide at select retailers. And I think people that did enter the contest, I don't know, I think it's next week they're going to let us. Well, I already have the response I'm getting in my head, but maybe it'll be different than other years.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to try. I mean, I like their experimenting with the sweet mash instead of the sour mash.
I wonder exactly what that's all about.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting because that's just not what Old Forester is known for. So it'd be really nice in a couple months to go like to Evergreen Liquor and try this year's, last year's, or prior years and see if, I'm not sure I will be able to tell the difference that one's a sour and one's a sweet mash, but it'd be fun to try. I'd love to have that opportunity.
It would definitely. This is pretty low proof for one too, though.
Yeah.
So, there's always confounding factors. I mean, maybe they'll make us a batch where there's only one variable change, sweet versus aged in the exact same place, same proof, but there's gonna be the variables. Yeah, I was wondering if this was, because some of the distilleries that do sour mash, after their shutdowns and cleanings, they're forced to either make a batch just to use as setback Or some of them will make a first batch as a sweet mash and then do what they will with it. Either. So I wonder if this fell into any of the cases. I'm not familiar enough with Old Forester to know if there's a shutdown that occurs right before April 5th.
Right.
I mean, if this was January or something, we'd say it's like a holiday cleaning or summer.
And it was 12 years ago, and so a lot of us weren't into bourbon 12 years ago. So it's it's going to be birthday bourbon. It's going to be good, right? So
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm very interested in trying this because of the sweetness part.
Yep.
All right, so moving on, Old McBrayer will release Old McBrayer 8-year-old bottled in bond bourbon in October 2025. The blend was selected from 19 barrels, with 13 making the final cut, and uses the brand's standard mash bill of 70% corn, 18% rye, and 12% malted barley. It's bottled in bond, so it's 100 proof, and this is going to become their standard product going forward, the 8-year. I believe it was a 5-year there prior.
I think that's right. I looked at their website a little bit, and but this is a big jump in age.
Yeah.
And while you occasionally see some, 8-year bottled and bond products, I'm not aware of that many others, and especially if this is going to be their flagship, right?
Yeah.
That's a nice age level. Bottled bonds, always good stuff. I'd like to know the price. I know that they haven't put the price out there yet. I checked that yesterday, and it wasn't on the website. So, but looking forward to finding that one on the shelves and giving it a shot.
Yeah, no, it's I like when things are bottled in bond. I like 8-year. I mean, we've talked about this before. I mean, 6, 7, and 8 are becoming the new 4 and 5.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, or so a lot of these new releases we're going to see higher age statements because people have been working at this for a while, and so I think that's can only go up because if people aren't drinking as much when they're making more, it's going to get older because if you don't sell it, it stays in the barrel, right?
Yes, and we definitely saw that happen the last slowdown.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't.
We didn't. Right? Our parents did, right? So yeah.
I guess we sort of did. I mean, it was like the 70s.
I was drinking craft beer back then, so yeah.
I think I was drinking Jenny Cream and hams.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Oldenburg.
Didn't have much money back then.
Oldenburg from northern Kentucky. That was a big deal back in the day. So.
But we digress.
We do.
So moving on. Quartz Mountain Distillers will release their first bottled in bond bourbon, mashed, distilled, and barreled in spring 2020 and aged for 5 years in the distillery's bonded warehouse. It is the first bottled in bond bourbon released within Southwest Washington State. The mash bill is 68.7% corn, 17.1% wheat, and 14.2% Vienna barley, with corn and wheat sourced from eastern Washington farms. It's aged in new 53-gallon American white oak barrels from Kelvin Cooperage, and it's bottled at 100 proof, as bottled in bonds must be. Each bottle carries an SRP of $69, and it became available at the distillery and select retailers beginning August 2nd, 2025. And I don't know their distribution, but they're a smaller place, so I suspect we're not seeing it out here.
I have never seen it. I was not familiar with this distillery until I read your newsletter and looked it up on the web pages. So looks like they again a grain to glass type concept.
Yeah.
The barley's coming from overseas, but hey, that's okay. I love the fact they've got decimal points on their percentage of the mash bill.
Yes, the precision is
important, right? So,
because I wonder if just the whole thing fell apart. It's if they went to 17.2% wheat.
Right. What would it make a difference? If it was 17.3% wheat. You just never know. But
well, I'm going to be out in Seattle in
bring us back some
when all the craziness of September ends here. I think we're going the end of October, so maybe there'll still be some around, and I'll give it a try then. And yeah, I mean they actually, I hadn't heard of them. Obviously they're on the other side of the country, but they reached out to me, and I'm always happy to support small producers that are making their own, especially when they're coming out with a bottled in bond. So
right. And it looks like
very exciting.
Looks like they're doing it thoughtfully, and at 5 years again, not just the minimum 4. So. And aging in Washington State, my concept is it's cooler. probably just as humid, but 5 years might be the same as 4 years here. So
well, and those Kelvin barrels are going to add a nice character to
Yeah.
it as well. So yeah, I mean they've paid attention to detail, it looks like, and well, hopefully I'll get to try it when I'm out there.
right. And if you folks are out in Washington listening to us or reading about us and you've tried this, tell us that in the comments. So we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. All right, moving on to a larger local distillery. Maker's Mark is releasing the 2025 edition of its cellar-aged bourbon, a limited global release blending 74% 11-year-old, 10% 13-year-old, and 16% 14-year-old bourbons. The 2025 cellar age will be available mid-September in the US, Germany, and global travel retail, with additional availability in the UK, Australia, Korea, Japan, and Singapore later this year and early 2026, which it always surprises me that this bottle that's so hard to get here goes all over the world.
Right.
US consumers can also purchase bottles at the distillery, and this is unclear, unfortunately, in the press release. So it says, US consumers can also purchase bottles at the distillery starting September 5 by booking the cellar-aged experience. So that is not clear that if you showed up there like last year in the middle of the night, you'd be given some ticket to purchase it. You may have to book this experience in advance, and I've looked, and that's not available, or I missed it already. It's not for purchase online. So not 100% clear how that's going to go down.
It sounds like you're going to have to book that experience to be able to get a bottle. I mean, I think that if you could just go to the distillery and buy a bottle, they would probably say that. So, and they're not saying
I would think, but we've had that confusion in a number of the releases this year, which because people are used to going to the distillery. Anyway, so it's bottled at 112.9 proof, and it's got a suggested retail price of $175.
You gotta love, Maker's Mark that's got this age on it. 11 to 14 years old. I've loved all the cellar aged that I've tried, and so I'm glad they're going to make it an annual release. Clearly, this is the third one I want to say. So, and again, cool bottle. Little bit different look for Makers, and just an older age stated blend of some of their best stuff.
Yeah, and for people that aren't familiar with it, it ages for its normal time, which Makers ages to taste, not age, but it's usually in that ballpark of 6 to 8.
6 to 8, yeah.
So it does that in the rick houses, and then after that, these barrels move into the cellar, so they're exposed to a much less fluctuating and cooler climate. So while they get extra years on them, they're not getting the extra years of sitting out in a Kentucky rick house.
Right.
So that aging is a gentler process for them, sort of more almost Scotch-like or something.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to get the strong oak, woody flavors because it's just not going in and out, like it would in a rick house. So.
Right. You just get that added maturity with a little bit more oak, and I've really enjoyed them. So this will be the first one that has 14-year in it, although it's only 16%. But the dominant amount is the 11. Interesting.
Right.
And 12 got skipped. I think the first one was 11 and 12.
Yeah.
And wasn't the last year 12 and 13? Or do I have those 1 year off?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
Yeah. But it's it'll be interesting to see is there another. How much do they have laid back, right? Will we, in 2026, will there be part of it being a 15-year-old?
Well, you can walk through the cellar and count the barrels. There's a lot in there.
There's a lot. There are.
I think they have a lot. The answer's a lot.
That's in gallons, not liters, okay? So.
All right, moving on. So Michter's will release the 2025 edition of their US 1 Toasted Barrel Finish Sour Mash whiskey this September. Finished in a second barrel that is toasted but not charred, the whiskey builds on the character of Michter's acclaimed US 1 Sour Mash. In addition to the Toasted Barrel Sour Mash, the Michter's Toasted Mash series features a rotation of the Toasted Barrel Finish Rye, my personal favorite, and the Toasted Barrel Finished Bourbon. And this will only be the second time that the Sour Mash has happened, toasted. It's bottled at 86 proof with a suggested retail price of $110 per 750 milliliter bottle.
I really love Michter's toasted products. I was at a tasting with Andrea Wilson and Dan McKee a couple weeks ago, and they didn't have any toasted products at that tasting. They did let us taste the 10-year bourbon.
Because I was about to push you off the table if they did, because I haven't tried these yet.
Yeah, no, but I think we'll see sort of calculated releases of the toasted products because they know how good they are. They don't do anything, unintentionally at Michter's. It's all very well thought out and well done. So looking forward to. I don't think I've tried the toasted sour mash. So yeah,
it's good. I mean, I tried it when it came out. I'm sure it's going to be at KBF.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
So I mean, maybe they'll even be selling some bottles. Well,
one hopes. Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I know. I got the toasted rye like you. I love their toasted rye. I got a bottle of that at KBF last year, and it was just I kept going back for samples.
I love the toasted rye. I mean, all their proofs tend to be on the lower side, but the toasted rye is the only one that's at barrel proof, which for them I believe is still just low 100s.
Yeah, I was going to say like 110 or something like that.
Yeah, barely, because they have that low barrel entry proof of 103, and it doesn't really go up all that much.
Yep.
But all right, so moving on. So Pursuit Spirits has unveiled Old Anvil, the third release in their Melwood Legacy collection. Originally acquired in 2019 at 5 years old and for a number of years considered a failed experiment, these rare 70% corn, 21% rye, 9% malted barley mash bill barrels eventually matured into a rich, nuanced bourbon when they reached 11 years of age. It's bottled at cask strength, which is 119.4 proof. It's a distillery exclusive release available only at Pursuit Spirits' new Whiskey Row location, beginning August 28th. What is that, 2 days ago?
Yep.
Each 375 milliliter bottle is priced at $100 with limited daily allocations. If you book their Melwood past and present experience, though, that guarantees you a purchase of a bottle while supplies last. And some people may have heard of this because it has been available to their P Club members, which is their club. And I believe that was like 2 months ago because I think I tried it way back then.
Yeah.
But it's now available to the general public, and it's very good. So.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I'm going to head up to Louisville later today. Maybe I'll go by there and see if I can snag a bottle. But I like the fact that
you're going to have trouble going home afterwards since you've already told me 2 different things you're going to buy on the way to Louisville, and you've only been here for a couple minutes.
Yeah, right. It's what when you go on a road trip, you stop where you stop, right? So
we're in our Bardstown studio, by the way.
We are, yes.
Which is why the background is different.
So I like Pursuit Spirits. They're doing a good job. I like that this is not a failed experiment anymore, right? That they put some barrels back in the corner and just kept on trying them until they turned out to where they wanted them. And that's what you do with stuff as it ages, right? I mean, and it doesn't look like I can't tell. It looks like they blended some barrels, right? But they're all the same mash bill. So
yeah, I think they're it doesn't say it's a single barrel.
No, it doesn't.
I have it over there, but we don't have the time. So
right, yeah. So anyway, good for them. If you're in Louisville, go by. If you're coming in for the Bourbon Festival and you're staying in Louisville, you can go by their place and see if you can pick up a bottle.
Yeah, absolutely. And check out their new place. It's actually really cool. Great, beautiful bar. All right, next is Chicken Cock Whiskey has unveiled Miller's Reserve American Whiskey, a limited edition blend of 4 whiskeys sourced from Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and West Virginia, all aged 8 to 10 years. It's bottled at 115 proof, and this release includes a blend of 10-year double oak Kentucky whiskey, 8-year high rye bourbon from Indiana, 8-year wheated bourbon from West Virginia, and 10-year wheated bourbon from Ohio. It's inspired by James A. Miller's 1860, so he owned the original Chicken Cock Distillery, 1860 loss of 475 barrels in the sinking of the A.O. Tyler steamer. Miller's Reserve honors the brand's history while showcasing modern craftsmanship. Each bottle, which is approximately $100 SRP, features collector-style packaging and will debut at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival and have limited online availability. And I actually got to try that on Thursday at the Chicken Cock Circa 1856. Hopefully I didn't get the year wrong of what its name.
I think that's right.
And it's very good also. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I believe they're having the official release event for it at Chicken Cock circa 1856 on Saturday night of KBF, open to the public. Anybody can go. So
yeah, I mean, I've seen other folks do blends from 2, maybe 3 different states. I don't think I've seen one with bourbon from 4 different states before. So that's going to take some some blending expertise to put all that together, especially because you've got a wheat in there. You got an Indiana high rye. I mean, it's just interesting to see how all that stuff would merge together. So I'm glad you said it's good. It sounds like they did a good job.
Well, they work with Bardstown Bourbon Company, and a blend like that has Dan Calloway's name all over it. So I assume he had something to do with it, and Dan's blends are fantastic. So
yeah. It's always good to get his input if you can.
Yes, absolutely. All right, our next one is Kings County Distillery has announced a new flagship offering, Straight Empire Rye, now a core part of their portfolio after years of it just being a limited allocation. It's made with a mash bill of 80% Danko rye, which is grown in New York, and 20% English malted barley. The whiskey is double pot distilled and aged a minimum of 3 years in charred oak barrels. It's bottled at 90 proof, and it represents one of the few commercially available grain-to-glass rye whiskeys made in the Northeast, carrying the Empire Rye insignia to mark provenance and quality. It's priced at $69, and it launched August 13 at the distillery's tasting room, which is called the Gatehouses, and online at kingscountydistillery.com, with rollout to New York stores and distribution later in September.
Good product. Glad they've got enough of that now to make it a regular product instead of just an occasional release. Big fan of Kings County products, and I'm a rye fan anyway, and so I like that New York has come up with basically a certification for a New York rye called Empire Rye, and Kings County should be the flagship of that, I think.
Yeah, so I mean because New York was one of our early rye producing states in the country, and before bourbon became king, rye was king, and
that's right.
We had Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New York were the primary producers of that. So I've always liked this Empire Rye designation because I do not remember the specifics offhand. 70% of the grain has to come from New York or something like that.
Right. Yeah, it was on their website, but it's this is 80% Danko Rye, and so it's not going to qualify for the Estate Whiskey Alliance that UK has, but it's still we assume it's pretty local,
Yeah.
And
well, New York's a gigantic state.
Right.
I don't know how. I mean, most of the grain's probably grown in the upstate, whereas
I would think so.
They're not. They're located in like the New York metropolitan area, right? So
I think they are. Yeah. Are they in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, we'll get our facts right for the next podcast, folks. Go get some Kings County when it comes out. It'll be good rye. Can't go wrong.
I was actually a little surprised at the age. I thought their stuff was a little older than 3.
I think that, I always thought about that, and it's like, it's a rye, so that's okay. Sometimes rye doesn't always do better with longer aging, and that's probably how they're getting into their regular rotation, right? Is okay, if we did this 4 years, it'd be another year before we could do that. So, it says minimum too, so are they, I would hope they're at least blending in some older stocks with that.
Yeah, good point.
And I bet eventually, if they don't already, you'll be able to get a single barrel that's going to have an age statement and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, that is a good point. They could be using we don't know the percentages. There's probably almost certainly older stocks that are mixed in together. And since the label has to have the youngest whiskey in there, there could be, well, there can't be because I don't think they're 20 years old. But for example, if there was 20 year in there and 3 year, it has to say 3 year.
Right.
So
they could very easily have some 5 and 6 year old product in here, which would make it more robust, I would think.
Right. That's a very, very good point. But yeah, I've been a fan of I haven't tried all that much of them, but Colin is from Kentucky, right? Where's Pikesville area or something like that?
I think that's right. Yeah, I know they came.
So he's been out here and done things for LBS and used to do things for Wine and Market when that existed. And I think I've got some picks that were through there from Seth. Not to bore you out, but that's one of our friends that owned the store here. That's no longer around. But he had a bourbon club and did picks, and we've had picks from them, and they were very good back then. It's been a while. So
I remember he came to the Lexington Bourbon Society and had we did a great description of the distillery and how they do stuff. And, wonderful products.
Right, we tried a bunch of things. I thought they were all good, and the Wine and Market pick was really good. So anyways, looking forward to trying that at some point as well. All right, moving on to a much larger distillery. The Jack Daniel Distillery has announced that Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Heritage Barrel Tennessee Whiskey, that's a mouthful, will now be offered year-round as part of the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Collection. First introduced as limited releases in 2018 and 2019, the expression is crafted with a distinctive high toast, low char barrel technique and enters the barrel at 100 proof before maturing for at least 7 years in Lynchburg's highest elevation warehouses. The new permanent offering is bottled at 100 proof and is priced at around $70 for a 750 milliliter bottle. It is available nationwide with an international rollout planned in the coming months, which warms my heart since it's always very hard to get these releases in Kentucky. So I'm glad they're going overseas.
Yeah, right.
To make it
even harder to get here
Yes.
in Kentucky. Right, yeah. So, yeah, and again, that's just another sign of increasing, people have been laying down bourbon for a while, and so now Jack Daniel's has enough that they're comfortable coming up with this as a regular, consistent release on a single barrel level. And I think it's good to see it's a reasonable, any Jack Daniel's is a reasonable price point. And so, 7-year-old, $70.
Not sure you're going to find this at a reasonable price point.
Well, you just have to go down to the distillery, right? And pick it up there.
Have you tried any of the releases?
I've tried some of their single barrels, but I haven't tried any of the heritage releases now. And I don't think I've had, I know they've got, a 10, a 12, and a 14 maybe.
Well, those aren't in the heritage barrel.
Heritage barrels, right? Yeah.
But yeah, so I tried these when they originally came out, and that back in those days, pre-Coy Hill and things like that, you still couldn't get this in Kentucky because their distribution in Kentucky has always been pretty low. But you could get it in other states, and we actually went up to Pennsylvania and bought a bunch of it at the time.
Yeah.
And I had reviewed the 2018 long ago, and I was actually wondering, so people knew this was coming because about a month and a half ago, I noticed my old review of the 2018 was getting like a huge amount of traffic. And I was like,
nice.
What is this new release in Heritage Barrel? But it just goes to show, people did not, prior to the Coy Hills, people did not really pay much attention, maybe outside of Tennessee, to these Jack Daniel's limited products. And now, they're in huge demand.
Huge demand, right. And they've expanded the offerings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so good, that's what you ought to do. If it's popular, you just keep on keeping on. So
I'm very interested to try this one because I was a big fan. I'm not sure I actually have any open bottles of it now because we finished them. We actually donated one to one of the either flood or tornado relief auctions in Kentucky whenever.
Right.
2-3 years.
22, I think, 3 years ago. Right.
So,
well, good for you for the donation, and I hope it made a lot of money for the relief efforts. And,
do what we can.
Just you need to go find some place where you can just pick up a case of this, Ed, and we'll just parcel it out over time, right?
So that's your assignment for the next podcast.
Okay, all right. I'll see what I can do.
Because I would really like to try this. I've been seeing it popping up online, but that's not in anybody that's in Kentucky. So we'll see.
I'll keep my eyes open.
All right. So next is Baker's 13-year-old single barrel Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It's back for 2025 as a limited edition release. It's a step up from that standard 7-year-old Baker's. This limited edition bottling of special 13-year single barrel liquid explores how time and location in the warehouse drives distinction from barrel to barrel. It's bottled at 107 proof, and it's a single barrel, so while they're sticking to a similar profile, they're each going to have a little bit character difference, I assume. The suggested retail price is $150 for a 750 milliliter bottle.
I'm a big fan of the Baker's 13, and the Baker's 7, but the Baker's 13 with almost twice the age. It's deeper, more complex, and I really like it. I try to get a bottle every time they put it out, and with limited success, but I've gotten some of them. So
it should be at the distillery.
It should be at the distillery, and they usually have it at KBF too.
Yes.
And they have to wait in line for it, and it may sell out after the first day, but they usually at least start out having it. So.
Oh, they had it at our Total Wine in Lexington before the press release even came out.
Wow.
Karen just happened to be in there and saw it on the shelf and came home with a bottle of it.
Well, good for Karen.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so I've always been a big fan of this. This will be the third time. Originally, it was released prior to that as occasional, very limited single barrel. But before it became a regular limited release, this will be the third year. I'm a huge fan of it. I mean, the first year it came out, I don't do a bourbon of the year, but it was certainly would have been a contender.
Yeah.
I mean, you get that mature characteristics and you start getting the oak, but it still remains very balanced and it's not overdone at all. So, and I've tried this year's release and it's delicious again. So
yeah, the 107 proof point's a nice, those low hundreds are just a great place to get, the complexity, the layers. But at the same time, there's just enough of a not a bite, but a warmth. That's what it is. It's the Kentucky hug, right? It's the essence at that proof point. So,
and everybody always clamors for barrel proof, but as you start getting into these older whiskeys, I mean, if that was at 130 proof, it would probably be very over oaked.
Yeah, it probably tastes like.
Not that I wouldn't like to try it at 130.
I understood. Yeah.
But this is probably the proof that it's. I
actually saw a Knob Creek at a true barrel proof the other day, like 125.
Right, well, they
something.
Have those now.
Do they?
Yeah,
it's the first one I had seen, so I didn't end up getting it. But again, expand that product line. It's part of the game.
Well, that's giving people what they want, but I mean, the funny thing about that is some of their barrel proofs are lower than the 120 that you get it at.
You buy that in the store. Yeah.
So, all right. So moving on, we've got two from Bardstown Bourbon Company, which is, give a shout out to the bottle that we're sipping on because this is a Bourbon Capital Guild pick, which is a group that I'm in Bardstown. It's part of the Bourbon Capital Alliance, and it's associated with Bardstown Tourism.
Yeah.
And this was a pick we had done at, I did. I'm trying to remember. At Bardstown Bourbon Company. And it's really delicious, and I'm sorry I didn't buy more bottles of it.
It is wonderful, I have to say.
It's a rye, by the way.
It's a 95.5 rye, 5% barley. 6 years old, I think.
Right. Finished
in what you call a zebra barrel, cherry wood and regular oak.
Right.
But man, it is just, it's a mouthful. The viscosity, the bright fruit flavors that I'm getting, the little bit of char and maybe even a little bit of smoke at the end. I mean,
it definitely has fruit. It's got maybe some like dried apricot in there. I get.
I can get that, and a little bit of cherry.
Yeah, it's a really good rye.
Yeah. But anyway, if you can't find it, folks. You'll never see it again. But you saw it here.
But you can buy other. You can buy the regular Origin Series rye, which is what it's based on.
Yeah.
And they have other single barrels of it, that show up in stores as well as at the distillery. So you can buy things that are similar. But that's the problem with single barrels. You can never buy the same, which is why I'm kicking myself for not buying more bottles of this at the time.
Well, but their Origin Series rye is at a good price point, and it's a wonderful product. I really am a big fan of that.
Yeah.
So, go get a bottle of that if you want to experience the world of BBC rye.
Or get a bottle of the next two releases we're going to talk about, because that was our segue into Bardstown Bourbon Company. So Bardstown Bourbon Company has announced Ferrand 2, the second collaboration with Maison Ferrand, and the latest in BBC's collaborative series. This limited edition blend of Kentucky straight whiskeys was finished for 15 months in used Ferrand cognac barrels. It has a suggested retail price of around $140 for a 750 milliliter bottle. It's bottled at 111.8 proof. And I can just quickly run through the blend. So it's got 73% 9-year Kentucky bourbon, a 10% 11-year Kentucky bourbon, a 10% 12-year Kentucky bourbon, and then 7% of Bardstown's own, coincidentally, 6-year rye. So
the very same thing that's in this bottle, folks.
Yes.
Yeah. So it just dawned on me that instead of doing celebrity releases, Bardstown Bourbon is doing this collaborative series where they're just working with other distilleries around the world of different products and collaborating with that, which I think is it's just a higher level than trying to find a famous face. Not to take anything away from celebrities. I like the fact they put like a rye into this blend.
Yeah,
that's
with
nice
all that
touch.
Kentucky bourbon. I mean, it's a very, but that's Danny's touch for things. Mm-hmm. He always finds the thing that's going to give it that unique character.
Yeah, well, and the cognac finish, right? That's going to add an interesting twist to this. I don't think it said, finished for up to 15 months. That's a long finishing time.
Yeah, which they often do.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and that, not to put words in his mouth, but I mean, it's got a good chance, at least in my mind, of that's what the rye is doing there, to add some spice to offset the sweetness of the cognac and the sweetness of those bourbons, although they're starting to get old enough that they're going to not be as sweet as they were. But still, I suspect that's what the rye is doing in there, but we can ask.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting question, because I think that, if you just, I bet they tried it without the rye, and then they just experimented by putting that in there, and it's like, wow, we like this better. So,
well, I think their process is pretty complicated, and a lot of people have a role in it, and I think part of it winds up tasting some of these things blind, because
of course, yeah.
So ultimately this blend won out, but we weren't. Maybe we'll be invited to help with the next blend.
If that happens, you'll hear about it here first.
Right. Moving on to their next release, it's they've also released their Discovery Series 13, and I believe that was yesterday at the distillery when it first came out. So it's double-barreled, a blend of Kentucky straight bourbon whiskeys finished in American and Hungarian oak, the first double-barreled entry into the Discovery Series. This limited edition release highlights the art of blending and offers a whiskey that's rich and layered with added depth and distinction. It's got a suggested retail price also of around $140 for a 750 milliliter bottle, and it's bottled at 110.8 proof. And its blend is 45% Kentucky 9-year bourbon, 22% Kentucky 9-year bourbon, 20% Kentucky 15-year bourbon, and 13% Kentucky 8-year bourbon. So it's all bourbons in here. And for 4 months, 60% of the blend rested in new American white oak barrels, the remaining 40% aged in premium Hungarian oak barrels.
That's an interesting way to finish things off. Just to split it in two, and then you bring it back together, obviously. Yeah. But got 20% of 15-year-old bourbon. That's a pretty nice dollop of an older bourbon into the blend there.
Yeah. The dominants are all over. Everything but 13% is over 9-year, and then the youngest is 8. So
so a nice blend of stuff there, and it'd be interesting to see what the Hungarian oak adds to that. They had to come up on that 60-40 split between the American and Hungarian somehow. And I'm just wondering, okay, how did y'all decide on that? But
maybe that's why it's only 4 months, because they had a chance to go back and do it again.
It could be.
No, I'm just kidding. But
right.
But I'm sure they tried it with different percentages and arrived at that.
Yeah.
But
I can't. As I was going into town this morning from Lexington, you drove by Bardstown Bourbon on the Parkway, and there were people lined up outside. I'm sure to pick these two things up.
Yes,
it had to be release day. So,
but we actually got a sneak peek of them at the Reserves, which is Bardstown Bourbon Company's
their club.
So we got to try them then. They were both very good. So next is Larrikin Bourbon Company will debut Cigar Lounge at this Kentucky Bourbon Festival on September 5th. A bold limited release built on a backbone of 9-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey and finished across 5 distinctive barrels: cognac, ambarana, Spanish Madeira, maple syrup, and Brazilian jaca fruit. Bottled at 109.5 proof and aged for 9 years, each bottle carries an SRP of $150. Festival attendees will be the first to sample and purchase bottles, with limited distribution to select liquor stores in Kentucky, Wisconsin, Tennessee, Florida, and California, as well as at Larrikin's Lawrenceburg Distillery and online.
Really experimental to put this many different, barrels into the mix. Bardstown Bourbon just did regular American and Hungarian. I've seen other triple-barreled stuff. I don't know. I've seen one with 5 before, and I have no idea what Brazilian jaca fruit is. I'm intensely curious about that.
Wasn't it just recently Blue Note, this past year, came out with, I think there were 8 different finishing barrels?
You're right. Yeah, it may have even been 10.
Yeah, it was
they had
a huge
an amazing number that they ran over.
But yes, 5 is pretty high. And I don't know anything about this Brazilian jaca fruit.
Yeah.
So, so we'll get to try this at the Bourbon Festival.
Looking forward to that.
And the thing about Larrikin is they're not just jumping on the bandwagon of the cigar blends. They have a walk-in humidor at their Lawrenceburg facility. Okay. Yeah, so the cigars are actually part of what they are interested in. It's not just like, let's make another cigar blend. So,
right.
So that which should also make this very good, since it's coming from people that actually appreciate cigars. So be interesting. I suppose you have to really try it with a cigar to fully appreciate it.
I would assume, but yeah, I mean, the mix of those. I can envision cognac flavors and Madeira flavors and Amburana and maple syrup. I don't have a reference point for the Brazilian jaca fruit, but I think about those other four and melding those together, and sounds, that would be really interesting and unique to see what that's going to taste like. And of course, a 9-year-old bourbon underneath that's a good starting point. So,
well, I'm assuming there's a specific cigar that they have in mind for this.
That'd be interesting. We'll have to ask them that at the festival, because they're always there, and it's the owners that are there most of the time, not just somebody they've hired to man the booth. So.
Well, I think I actually have that cigar, because they sent small sample and a cigar to go with it.
Oh wow!
So,
how about that?
Yeah, it's not your average sample that you receive, but it's
that's
but anyway,
great.
But it does show that they really are making this to go with cigar. They're not just
right
jumping on the bandwagon, as I said. All right, next is Burnt Tavern Bourbon. They debut September 1st, reviving the legacy of the twice-burned Burnt Tavern in Garrard County, Kentucky, having nothing to do with the Garrard Company distilling.
That's not that, right.
Crafted by master distiller Chip Tate, who was the founder of Texas whiskey brand Balcones Distilling, which especially people that like American single malts should be familiar with.
Yeah.
For the William Berkeley Distillery, that's the name of their distillery, William Berkeley. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that, actually. I do not know.
Looks like Berkeley to me.
Yeah.
So.
This 7-year-old Kentucky Straight bourbon whiskey is double-barreled in 2 unique, slowly toasted and charred barrels. It's bottled at 105 proof, and it will initially launch in central and northern Kentucky with broader statewide expansion planned later this year. It's got a suggested retail price of around $70, and I got that from the Lexington Herald Leaders article, because it wasn't actually, I didn't see it on their website or the press release.
Right. It's I don't know anything about this distillery. It's a neat story, it sounds like, the Burnt Tavern and all that. They've obviously got a good master distiller in Chip Tate. He knows what he's doing from his prior history. So,
yeah, I wasn't completely clear either if this was more of a one-time collaboration with him to help them get going, or if he's going to be a long-term part of it. I'll find out as I learn more about them, but I had not heard of this distillery until this either.
You think this is their product?
No.
I was going to say, I wouldn't think so, because it's 7 years old. So, boy, that's good. Good luck, guys, coming into this market.
Except you can buy the bourbon now for much less. Yeah. I mean, look, it's priced, $70.
It's fair price. Right?
That's right. So it's a 7-year. That's the $10 per year price. Plus, this is double barrel, so it's got more of a cost going in it. So they can still sell it at a price that fits right within. I mean, a little higher end of. We're seeing some people sell their own 8 years for less, but this is not out of hand. That's 70 is quite reasonable for a double barreled product. So that's the. Right. It's a tough market to enter into, and I think I wouldn't build the distillery right at the moment. But it's a great time to source bourbon because you can get it at a price you could actually make money without charging a crazy price.
Yeah. I wish them well. I think it's going to be hard to enter the market as a new brand right now. There's so many brands out there, and we're clearly seeing, a decline in drinking. I don't think it's as severe as people make it out to be, but it would have been easier 4 years ago. That's all I'm saying.
Well, unfortunately, it takes a lot of boots on the ground. You have to go to every store, every event, let people taste it, try it. It's the only way to enter the market that's been quite crowded for many years now.
Yeah, you can't rely on your
distributor.
A lot of work. Your distributor's not going to do it for you.
No, it's no longer. I mean, for some celebrities, obviously that's going to sell immediately, but that's a completely different story. Most people do not have that luxury, and if you start a brand, you're going to have to go there, and you're going to have to get people to taste it, and it takes a lot of work.
At least they've got a story here with the Burnt Tavern.
Yeah,
and so you got to have something draw people's attention.
No,
right?
it sounds good. I mean, it's got good age and it's got the finishing. So I'd like to try it. I say that every time. If we had I'd like to try it from every podcast episode. I've probably said it about 10,000 times.
Right.
All right, so moving on. So Jackson Purchase Distillery, which opened a little more than 4 years ago in Hickman, Kentucky, which is way down at the southwestern part of the state. I thought they were only contract distillers.
We just said like a week or two ago.
Right.
Said
I think you asked me if they have a product. I said no, but I didn't know. So it turns out that was not correct. So they're about to release their first bourbon bottled under their own label. It's made from a mash bill of 70% corn, 20% rye, and 10% malted barley. It's aged 4 years, and it's bottled at 117.8 proof. And the suggested retail price is around $60. And I thought this was unusual. According to the Courier Journal, it's going to sell for $75 at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. We'll have to see. That seems like an unusual thing to do for a new brand. It does,
but at least I'll be able to try it at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival before I decide whether or not to buy it. So
at $60 elsewhere, if this is true.
True. There you go. Right.
And then the distillery says that the bourbon tastes older than its 4 years due to the effects of the hot and humid southwestern Kentucky climate. So,
I don't doubt that. I mean, you see, sort of like O.H. Ingram does their aging on barges, and it's different. They're talking about the motion of the river making it go in and out. But we know more heat and more humidity makes more extraction in and out of the barrel. So
I'm not actually real familiar with. I mean, it's not like it's super far from here, but I'm not familiar with what the weather is like there in climate. I know they get more bad weather than we do.
Yeah, they're closer to Tornado Alley and things like that. So.
But people that tasted it seem to have agreed. I haven't tried it yet. I'll try it. We'll try it at the Bourbon Festival.
We will, yeah.
All right. So moving on. So now we have a whole bunch of whiskeys from the MGP Luxco brands. So Penelope had announced its 2025 estate collection, and that consists of 5 distinct expressions ranging in age from 10 to 13 years, with proofs from 99 to 121.4 and prices from $80 to $200. So they are. I think this only had 3 things in it last year, but last year was the first year. I could be wrong. Anyway, so what's in it this year is Penelope Founders Reserve 13-year Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, $200, 121.4 proof. Penelope Omega 11-year Straight Bourbon Whiskey, $130, 109.8 proof. Single Barrel 10-year Bourbon, which is $90, and it has 2 different mash bills. That's how we get to the 5 in this series. One's at 99 and one's at 103. And actually, I remember them doing that last year. Like one of the proofs went to control states and one of the proofs went to other states, which was interesting. And then Penelope Private Select 10-year bourbon, which is $80 and bottled at 106.8 proof. And then another brand under this parent company, Rebel Bourbon, introduced the latest addition to its highly acclaimed lineup. Rebel, left in a little marketing language there when I made these summaries apparently. Rebel Butter Pecan Bourbon Cream, which is 30 proof and $20 from in a 750 milliliter bottle. And then lastly, Remus Bourbon announced the release of Remus Repeal Reserve 9 Straight Bourbon Whiskey, which is a blend of 10 to 18-year-old whiskeys bottled at 104 proof with a price of around $100. All right, and that's a lot of whiskeys from one company, which is why we can't go through each one independently.
And I can't, it's not something I'm going to go out and try and find all of those. If I had to rank them, what I'd be looking for would be the Remus Repeal Reserve series.
Oh, I pegged you for a butter pecan cream.
Yeah, I know you did, but it's 10 to 18-year-old blends for $100. That's a deal, I think.
They've always been very reasonably priced.
Yeah.
And they've been good. Mm-hmm. So yes, I would definitely be interested in that. And there's some impressive statistics on those Penelopes. I'm sure they're good.
It's their estate collection, right? And so they're going to put out their primo products for that. And But man, you can only buy so many bottles at a time. I fill the shopping cart up and only more room. So
Well, maybe they'll have some of these we can taste at
that'd be nice,
the KBF.
Right? Yeah. You know, help me choose which ones to actually buy, right? So.
Right,
yeah, if they have the butter pecan bourbon cream at the KBF, I'm going to be frankly a little disappointed. So,
well, maybe they'll put it in a cocktail though, or something.
They could do that. Yeah.
But all right, next is Cathead Distillery has released the third expression in its Old Soul Estate collection, a 7-year-old straight bourbon whiskey made entirely in Mississippi from grain to glass. It's distilled from a mash bill of 65% corn, 28% wheat, and 7% sorghum. It was pot distilled and aged in American oak barrels with char levels 2, 3, and 4. It enters the barrel at 106 proof and matured for 7 years under Mississippi's intense climate, resulting in a whiskey that they describe as earthy and richly nuanced. It's bottled at cask strength of 111.5 proof, and it's priced at $75 and highlights Mississippi's grown, distilled, and aged craftsmanship. And this one sounds really interesting to me for a variety of reasons, but I don't think I've had sorghum in a
I don't think I've had sorghum
whiskey.
either. That's an interesting tweak there on the barley component. So I wonder if it acts like barley in the distillation fermentation process. That might be a Pat Rice question. I wouldn't think it would either, but
well, because Guinness is made with sorghum in some parts of the world.
Is it? Huh.
I don't know if it still is, but at one time, there were a whole bunch of different Guinness recipes that were varied where
Based
it was
on
made, and there was one that contained sorghum. I think it's more of the kind of carbohydrate that makes a fermentable sugar rather than provides any enzymes.
Yeah, that's how they taste it.
But I do not know. I've never had one, and I don't know if we'll have this one because I'm not sure these special Old Soul estate collection releases make it up here.
Distributed. I mean, I've had their product before, and I like it.
I think they're on seal box actually, but I don't.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's a low barrel entry proof. I like that. Different char levels on the barrels. So interesting way they're trying to put all this stuff together.
Yeah, and
I'd
nice
like to try it.
Price point for the proof, and considering what went into this isn't your run of the mill, and 3 different char levels. Yeah, I mean,
right. A lot of work went into this for the price
certainly
point.
Piqued my interest in it. All right, then we'll just have a few more quick mentions. So Boone County Distilling. So we've talked about these before. They have their Portrait series, which is their limited release of these highly aged bourbons, and this is the last in the series. It's probably already sold out by now. It's a 15-year-old, 112.02 proof. It's priced at $300, and there were 131 bottles, and it went on sale Saturday, August 30th at 10 a.m. And I believe all the prior releases had sold out
I can't
by
imagine
10:05 a.m.
Right. I mean,
So
131 bottles is not going to last long.
I assume this is long gone, which is why it's just in our quick mention.
Well, and especially
category.
for our listeners and viewers who are seeing this on Monday, we're recording it on Saturday. But so I feel really sure that by Monday, when you hear this, it's going to be all gone.
I'd be amazed if it wasn't.
Right.
All right, and then lastly, Chattanooga Whiskey releases their Michigan Maple Syrup Cask Finished, their 7th barrel finishing series release. It's a blend of 2 straight bourbon mash bills finished in late harvest maple syrup casks from Michigan. It's available at the Experimental Distillery, or became available, starting August 28th, so also just a couple days ago. And eventually it will show up online, they say seal box, so that we'll have a little bit of a wider distribution. Yeah. It's 95 proof and $60. All right.
We're going to have to try. So I haven't really tried the honey finishes, the maple syrup finishes. One of these days I'll try that. I would trust Chattanooga Whiskey to do something like that. Yeah. And do it well. But
yeah, I'm a fan of that. I do like their whiskeys. They do a very good job. I like
them too. So that was a lot, Ed.
That's right. And then we're not going to talk about the Four Roses and the LE and the Beams Pinball because we talked about them last week podcast, to try to. Yeah. Well, they both had releases. Talked about them to try to get the news out.
If you got a limited edition for Four Roses, we're happy to help you sample it and give you our expert thoughts on it.
because I've both myself and my wife have lost the Mellow Moments and the general entry lotteries for the however many years in a row that they've been doing this.
Right.
Miss the days of just getting there,
showing up and being able to get the bottle.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, people still camped out overnight, but I don't think I ever got there before, 7 o'clock in the morning or so, and I always got it doing that back in the day.
Never been through that madness, so I'm glad there's people that have, and every once in a while we'll get together with folks and I'll break out an LE, and so it's nice to sample it from whatever year it was. So.
Well, honestly, the one thing about the LEs as opposed to many of these other limited releases, and I don't understand why, because they're always very good bourbons in my mind, but they just don't get the same markup and the same hype. I mean, even if you want to, some liquor stores I'm sure will mark it up to crazy prices, but they're not that hard to find just being marked up a small amount. So you can, it's one of the limited releases that you can actually get without, paying a crazy amount for, and really just paying, a little bit almost reasonable markup for something that's difficult to get. So I do not know why. It's just never had the hype. But I mean, some of their bottles have, like the Al Young and things like that.
Sure.
But,
right.
But
between their single barrel program, I mean, these are blends, right? But they're still, you got to figure they're just meticulously crafted by Brent and Brent's staff.
Right.
So.
We're way out of time, but we did a blind a few months ago, and tried just a variety of these limited Four Roses. Not the LE. There was one of the LEs was in there, and then the others were, I think, the 16-year Father's Day, the 16-year whatever other one there was, and then the 20-year when the Visitor Center opened, and all those things. And for me, I think 16 years is sort of the sweet spot for their single barrels, so I really like those. But if I remember correctly, I think the LE may have won, proving once again that the blends do very well.
Right. Yeah, there's a whole big thing about single barrels, but actually, if you think about it, a blend can have so many more just opportunities than you get from a single barrel.
Yeah. So I mean, when you put in the right hands, and Brent is certainly the right hands, you can create really delicious whiskey. So I've always been a huge fan of these, and I'm happy that even though I didn't get the lottery, I'd probably be able to find it for just a few bucks more, or get it at a charity auction, which is where I usually wind up getting stuff. But
always a good way to get stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, support another charitable organization. So,
alrighty, well, that's a lot. Hopefully we're not too far over an hour. I don't know what the time is, but that about does it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Bourbon Obsessed New Bourbon Releases News Podcast, your commercial-free and therefore money-free bourbon podcast. There will be no regular podcast next week due to the little thing called the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. So please be sure to join us a week from Monday for our Bourbon and Distillery News podcast, where I'm sure we're going to have a lot to discuss by then.
Exactly.
I'm not looking forward to what'll be even after that at the next new releases that have built up after all that time. So
it's a tough
get a good night's rest before listening to that next one. Anyway, also be sure to like and follow us at your preferred podcast provider so that you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to tell all your friends too. You can also head over to bourbonobsessed.com to check out some of our over 350 bourbon reviews and over 50 distillery write-ups. While you are there, you can also sign up to have my newsletters delivered directly to your inbox. Finally, I can be found on Instagram at Bourbon_Obsessed and on Facebook at Bourbon Obsessed, and would love for you to follow me there as well. Dean, where can they find you?
People find me on Instagram at Dean of Bourbon with underscores, and happy to have you follow me.
All right, so everybody, we're looking forward to seeing you at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, so please say hello if you see either of us.
Please do. Cheers.
Cheers with my empty glass.